Hey guys, the Irrational Skeptic here, and today I'm going to be doing a video on uh, INFP versus INFJ. First, I will just mention that yes, I am mostly doing this topic because I've seen an abundance of the popularity uh, of of it. So yeah, it is kind of clickbait. So starting. Um, I will just say that uh, I myself have been in the dilemma whether I was an INFP or an INFJ, and it took me a very long time. I will say, actually, about 3 or 4 years before I solidified as an INFJ, so to say. But I will just give some of the differences now that I can have a detached perspective rather than, uh, I guess, yeah, rather than the perspective of when I was still kind of searching and going through to find out if I was one or the other. Uh, I will add that I actually started out uh, mostly thinking I was an INTP, um, but soon I realized that um my aspiration towards introverted thinking was kind of what made me answer uh, the questions, kind of seeing myself as a little bit more logical than I actually am. So yeah, um, that is a uh, nuance. That is a nuance in type theory generally. Um, that has the third function being a function that we all like to go to after the first. So I was probably skipping my FE for a long time, and I took that as being weak FE. But then when I actually did notice my normal interaction with people, I started to find that I was doing very FE things quite automatically. Um, yeah, I will to differentiate the INFP and the INFJ. You really want to point out if you are able to really pay attention to your own emotional state. That is a that's just a big marker. The INFP really does know what emotional state they are in. They know the nuances of the emotional state they're in. They can explain it. It doesn't, and they can explain it to themselves. It's not hard. It's not hard for them to know, and they don't really need to take it apart in order to figure out what they're feeling. They just know they're feeling it, and this is a very wide range of emotions. So they know what, they know why, they know they'll come out of it. They know they're just down right now. They know they can be up um, in the next 2, 3 hours. It's very sophisticated, which I thought I had that, but no, I am not as sophisticated with introverted feeling as maybe I would have thought. So, what I was actually seeing was actually introverted intuition as a dominant. And the reason I believed that it was introverted feeling was because it goes in thoughts. It goes in thoughts, and you kind of constantly uh, revolve or reason around maybe a specific uh, thing you're thinking about, or a specific emotion that you're feeling. But I will say that will add here that the INFJ does not really pay attention to their emotions. So, a good example of this I will give is you when you walk into a room, the INFJ, what they immediately do is recognize the people in the room, get a gauge of how everyone is in the room, whether they're smiling, whether they're giving off a stale emotional vibe, and they will immediately adapt to that. That is a clear sign that you're an INFJ. You will immediately adapt to that. You'll know whether to come in lighthearted. You'll know whether to tone down on your, the way you're projecting yourself into the environment. You'll just know. You'll just do it. I'll put it that way. You'll automatically do it. Whereas the INFP will come maybe into the same room and be very aware of how they're feeling. They can also be very aware of how everyone else is feeling in the room, but they won't put an emphasis on changing their own emotional state to adjust to everybody in the room. That is just clear, cut, and dry right there. They will come in, recognize, they might try to approach you if they notice that you're feeling down and maybe talk to you. But this is a different way of behaving than an INFJ who would come into the same room. He might realize uh, different nuances going on, but he wants to preserve harmony. So there will be no, they will try to harmonize with whatever current emotion is going on in the room and cater to that. That is, there's a certain vibe that they feel is what I would call it. I've seen elsewhere someone call this from Star Wars a disturbance in the Force. That is uh, a good way to caricature it. It's the INFJ in the room, uh, knowing there's something sort of off, maybe, but okay, I'm just gonna shift and more. And because the INFJ is not a dominant extroverted feeler, uh, they won't be as proactive as people might think they would be in trying to change that uh, emotional atmosphere. Um, they're actually, and this is a part that I was also confused about, they're actually more concerned about how they are coming off to people in the room. Um, so that is my introverted intuition uh, telling me how I'm coming off to people in the room, and extroverted feeling now telling me how to change and adjust to how people are in the room. Introverted intuition is seeing possible outcomes of uh, not behaving in the right way and can kind of stare us away from danger. Um, and yeah, and extroverted feeling is then used as the tool to adjust to everything else. But when an INFJ does not recognize this, or when an INFJ maybe doesn't recognize that they use FE, or maybe they try to take the stay introverted, they will be doing NI and TI. That's introverted intuition and introverted thinking, being a tertiary function, and what is popularly known as the loop. So they will stay in an introverted mode and constantly deduct what is going on and what's going to go on next, and seeing possible consequences, and then explaining possible reasons for why that's going on. They'll just keep on looping like that. And that's what gives the effect of them sometimes thinking they're an INTP. Because once you have that introverted thinking going on, you automatically think, oh well, I'm coming to logical conclusions. Um, but there, it's the other way around. It's you start from a conclusion with your NI, and then you start breaking it down and backing off using your TI. So that's an interesting caveat there. It's in line with Socionics Model G. Um, I guess I would have to mention that because that's where I kind of theorized this from as well. Um, and that um, the introverted types all generally prefer their introverted functions. So when they're interacting with people at large, they they like to stay introverted until maybe they start to get to know you a little bit better, and they'll start realizing the role of their extroverted functions, FE and SE. That's why you have them when they're with people that they're comfortable with, they become a lot more expressive and animated, actually, very animated. Uh, but the INFP, on the other hand, um, to contrast to them, let's say using the same line of thought, I'll say that they, if they are not taking into account extroverted intuition and remaining in introverted mode, what they do is go back and forth between uh, introverted sensing, so they will be maybe recalling information and how they feel about that information, and then expressing that with their FI. That's how I feel about that information. That's how things are. That's just how that's what happened, and that's how I feel about it. And you'll see they'll loop on that. Um, so if they are the same thing, if they're in a room and uh, they're not taking into account the context of maybe the different possibilities of things going in the room, they might actually start to think that people are out to get them or something. Um, yeah, that's a way to put it. They'll remember information having to do with uh, how maybe this scenario has played out in the past before and how it made them feel. And it'll reinvoke that emotion, and they'll be in that state. They will embody that introverted feeling because of that. So, to break out of that, of course, you need to use extroverted intuition and see that, okay, there's other things that can be going on here. Um, so the effect is the same. That's one other thing I wanted to mention. The effect kind of is the same um, for the INFJ and INFP, and so you might actually still think you're the same type because you get the same effect out of that. The INFJ can be thinking everyone in the room is having some sort of, you know, they can get paranoid. They can think everyone in the room is having some sort of maybe evil plan or something, and going into the future. While and they'll have insights about that. Their introverted intuition will give them insights about what they've come up with in their head. And then for the INFP, they're it's the same effect. They'll have a feeling and a sudden emotion that proves this is what's going on in the room. So the effect can be similar, and because of that, Some people might mistype as an INFP, and then others might mistype uh, as an INFJ, and vice versa. But yeah, if you pay attention to how you are doing that, then how you're coming to that effect. So if you pay attention to how you're coming to the conclusion, then you will be able to easier distinguish between whether you are an INFP or INFJ. Um, so quickly, if you are an INFP, you will be referring more to past um, misdeeds when you're in a loop, and you will get your intuition that way. And I'm saying intuition now because introverted feeling does actually arise as a sort of intuition. It just comes and you're in that feeling state. But if you want to see how you come to that state, it'll be off things that you are uh, looping on and remembering. For the INFJ, it'll be through things that you're deducing to be going on. You are abstractly deducing them and saying this means this and that means that, and you will now get intuition. So because these are lower on your stack, it might feel a little bit like an unconscious process. That's both for SI and TI in both types. But but you will be able to see that from your insight uh, with INFJs, you'll start doing deductions, and from your uh, introverted feeling insights for the INFP, you'll start going to the past to kind of use that to support yourself. And yeah, I'll stop that here. I might do more videos on this in the future, but I just wanted to put this out there. Well, that will be all. The Irrational Skeptic signing off. Hey guys.